The leather binding crackled as I opened my mother's journal, each page a pristine testament to her obsession with control. I shouldn't have been in her study, shouldn't have been rifling through her desk drawer, but something about the way she'd been whispering with Dad about Madison's engagement had set off alarm bells. I'm Taylor, and I've spent 26 years being the family disappointment, the rebellious twin, the one who couldn't quite measure up to precious Madison's achievements. But what I found in those pages changed everything. Project Daughter's Futures. Read the first entry, dated back to when Madison and I were just 12. The neat, precise handwriting laid out every detail of our lives, like battle plans. Schools we'd attend, careers we'd pursue, even the types of men we'd marry. Next to Madison's name, law school, partnership track, marriage to established professional by 25. Check, check. And with Lucas in the picture, nearly check. Next to mine, medical school, Johns Hopkins preferred, residency at Father's Hospital, marriage to Dr. James Carlton's son. My hands trembled. Dr. Carlton's son had died of an overdose 3 years ago, but that wasn't the point. The point was that every choice I'd thought I'd made for myself had been orchestrated, manipulated, planned. Taylor? My mother's voice carried up the stairs. Are you up there? I snapped the journal shut, my heart hammering against my ribs. Just looking for my old yearbook. The lie tasted bitter on my tongue. Well, come down. Your sister has wonderful news about the wedding plans. Of course she does. Perfect Madison, following the script to the letter. I shoved the journal into my bag, refusing to return it to its prison. Coming! Downstairs, Madison sat perched on the edge of the antique sofa, her engagement ring catching the light. Mother hovered nearby, beaming with pride, while Dad stood by the fireplace, looking every bit the distinguished professor in his tweed jacket. Lucas's law firm is offering him junior partner, Madison announced, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. We're thinking of moving the wedding up to accommodate his new schedule. Wonderful news, darling! Mother clasped her hands together. Everything's falling into place exactly as we'd hoped. I couldn't help but laugh, the sound sharp and ugly. They all turned to stare at me. Something amusing, Taylor? Dad's voice carried that familiar note of disapproval. Just thinking about how convenient it all is, I said, my fingers brushing against the journal in my bag. How everything in this family seems to follow such a perfect little plan. Madison's smile faltered. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I stood up, unable to bear another minute of this performance. I need to meet Bryce. That artist? Mother's lip curled slightly. Really, Taylor, don't you think it's time to focus on more serious prospects? The weight of the journal seemed to burn through my bag. You'd know all about that, wouldn't you, Mother? About choosing the right prospects? Taylor, Dad warned, but I was already heading for the door. Don't worry, I called over my shoulder. I'm sure everything will work out exactly according to plan. Outside, I pulled out my phone and texted Bryce. Need to see you, found something. Everything's been a lie. As I walked to my car, I could feel their eyes on me through the window. They had no idea what I'd discovered, no clue that their carefully constructed house of cards was about to come crashing down. Let them think I was just being difficult, rebellious Taylor acting out again. They'd learn soon enough. The journal weighed heavy in my bag, but not as heavy as the realization that my entire life had been a carefully orchestrated manipulation. Well, if they wanted to play puppet master, they were about to learn that some puppets cut their own strings. I started the engine, my mind already racing with possibilities. They thought they could write our stories? Fine. But this time, I'd be the one holding the pen. Bryce's gallery buzzed with the kind of energy my family would call beneath their station. Paint-splattered jeans mixed with designer suits, laughter echoing off exposed brick walls. I clutched my wine glass, savoring every second of missing my parents' precious charity gala. You're thinking too hard again, Bryce said, sliding an arm around my waist. His fingers left invisible paint marks on my black dress, and I loved him for it. The journal? Among other things. I watched a woman in a sequined jumpsuit praise one of his abstract pieces. Mother's already called 4 times. Apparently, I'm embarrassing Madison on her special night. The engagement party isn't for another 2 hours. You could still make it. I pulled out my phone, showing him the latest text from Madison. How dare you abandon me like this? Mother's beside herself. Is this revenge for something? If she only knew. Your sister sounds charming as ever, Bryce said, taking my glass and setting it aside. Come on, I want to show you something. He led me through the crowd to a canvas I hadn't noticed before. The piece showed 2 identical faces, one cracking like a porcelain mask, to reveal wild colors underneath. My throat tightened. Is that you and Madison, or how I see you anyway? His eyes searched my face. The series is called Breaking Free. My phone buzzed again. Father this time. Your absence is noted and will be discussed. This behavior is unacceptable. They're going to lose their minds when they see this, I said, gesturing to the painting. Good. Bryce squeezed my hand. Maybe it's time they saw the real you. The gallery door chimed, and my heart stopped. Madison stood in the entrance, her designer dress and perfect makeup looking absurdly out of place. Lucas hovered behind her like an expensive shadow. Taylor! Her voice carried across the room. We need to talk. I met her halfway, aware of every eye in the gallery on us. Shouldn't you be at the gala? Shouldn't you? Her smile was razor sharp. Mother's telling everyone you're sick with food poisoning. I'm supposed to be picking up medication for you. How considerate. What's going on with you? She lowered her voice. First the scene yesterday, now this. And what's that painting supposed to be? Art is open to interpretation, I said sweetly. Though I suppose you'd need an original thought to manage that. Lucas cleared his throat. Madison, we should go. Your father will be furious, she finished. I know. Taylor, please, just come with us. We can fix this. I thought of the journal in my bag, of years of carefully planned manipulation. Fix what exactly? The fact that I'm not following the script? What script? You're not making sense. Ask Mother about her project, the one about our futures. I watched the confusion cross her face. Or, better yet, ask Lucas if he knows about the arrangement Mother made with his father 3 years ago. Madison's perfect mask slipped for just a second. Lucas shifted uncomfortably. You're trying to ruin everything, she whispered. Why? No, Madison. I'm trying to save us both. She grabbed my arm, fingers digging in. Come home, now, or I'll tell them about the night you— Everything okay here? Bryce appeared at my side, his casual tone belied by the tension in his shoulders. Madison released me, smoothing her dress. Family matter, nothing that concerns you. Actually, I said, it concerns everyone in this room. Your newest painting series is going to be quite the talk of the town, isn't it, Bryce? Taylor, Madison warned. The opening's next week. You should all come. I smiled, watching the realization dawn in her eyes. Mother would love to see herself immortalized in oils. All those secrets, right there on canvas. Madison took a step back, pulling Lucas with her. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? You know, sister dear, maybe you should read Mother's journal before deciding whose side you're on. It's quite illuminating about your perfect relationship here. They left without another word, the door chiming behind them like a warning bell. That was intense, Bryce said, watching them go. You okay? I picked up my abandoned wine glass, draining it. I will be, once they realize they can't control me anymore. But as I watched Madison's car pull away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just lit a fuse that would blow our entire family apart. And honestly, I couldn't wait for the explosion. The coffee shop buzzed with morning regulars when Madison slipped into the seat across from me, her designer sunglasses failing to hide her red-rimmed eyes. 3 days had passed since the gallery incident, and her perfect facade was starting to crack. I read it, she whispered, sliding Mother's journal across the table. How did you get this? Does it matter? I wrapped my hands around my coffee cup, anchoring myself. What matters is what's in it. Lucas's father approached them last year. Her voice cracked. Before Lucas ever met me, they planned everything. Just like they planned everything else. I leaned forward. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Madison removed her sunglasses, revealing shadows of sleepless nights. I can't just walk away. Do you know what that would do to Mother, to Father's reputation? Their reputation? I laughed, drawing stares from nearby tables. What about your life, Madison? Your happiness? Some of us care about more than just ourselves, Taylor. But her words lacked their usual bite. A text lit up my phone. Bryce. Gallery owner loved the new series. Wants to feature it next month. Madison caught the message. You're really going through with it? The paintings? Why shouldn't I? Mother's always saying art should reflect truth. The truth! She grabbed my wrist, her nails digging in. Like the truth about that night in college? When I what? I yanked my arm back. When I covered for you? When I took the blame for your drunk driving incident because Mother couldn't bear to see her perfect daughter's record tarnished? I never asked you to do that. No, Mother did. Another carefully orchestrated moment in her grand plan. I pulled out my phone, showing her the journal entry from that night. See? She knew exactly what she was doing, binding me with guilt, making me the black sheep so you could shine brighter. Madison's face drained of color. She wouldn't. She did. Just like she arranged your perfect marriage to a man who sees you as a business transaction. Lucas loves me. Lucas loves what you represent. Ask him about the merger his firm is planning with Father's university connections. Ask him why he met with Mother 3 times before accidentally running into you at that charity event. Tears spilled down her cheeks, smearing expensive mascara. Stop it. Why? Because it hurts? Because it's easier to play your role than face the truth? I stood up, gathering my things. The paintings go up next month. Every calculated move, every manipulation, right there on canvas for everyone to see. Please, she grabbed my hand. We can fix this. Together. I'll help you get back in their good graces. For a moment, I saw us as children again, holding hands against the world. But we weren't children anymore, and I wasn't interested in good graces. There's nothing to fix, Madison. This isn't about getting back in their good graces. It's about breaking free. I pulled my hand away. Maybe it's time you did the same. They'll never forgive you for this. Good. I shouldered my bag. Because I'll never forgive them either. As I reached the door, Madison called out, What about me? Will you ever forgive me? I turned back, seeing the desperation in her eyes. That depends. On what? On whether you choose to be their puppet or your own person. Outside, my phone buzzed with a message from Mother. Family dinner tonight, non-negotiable. Your father and I need to discuss your recent behavior. Another text followed. And bring that journal. It's time we had a serious conversation about boundaries and respect. I smiled, thinking of the gallery walls being prepared for next month's show. Mother wanted to talk about boundaries? Perfect. I had a few things to say about those myself. But first, I needed to make one more stop. It was time to pay Lucas's father a visit. After all, if we were going to air the family's dirty laundry, we might as well make it a complete set. Behind me, through the coffee shop window, I could see Madison with her phone pressed to her ear, hands shaking as she dialed. I wondered who she was calling, Lucas or Mother. Either way, the carefully constructed house of cards was starting to sway. And I was just getting started. Bryce's ancient Volkswagen van rumbled down the coastal highway, salt air whipping through the open windows. We'd left the city 3 hours ago, no destination in mind, just an escape from the suffocating weight of family dinner. Your phone's buzzing again, Bryce said, nodding toward my bag on the floor. Let it. I watched waves crash against rocky cliffs, each mile putting distance between me and Mother's carefully orchestrated world. They can wait. You sure about that? He glanced at me. The gallery opening's in 2 weeks. Maybe we should pull over. Something in the distance had caught my eye. An old lighthouse perched on the edge of the world. There. The van crunched onto gravel, and I was out before it fully stopped, climbing the worn path to the lighthouse. Behind me, Bryce called out something about private property, but I kept going. The door was unlocked, a miracle or an invitation, I wasn't sure which. Inside, spiral stairs led up to a room filled with late afternoon light. Dust motes danced in golden beams, and the view stretched forever. "Reminds me of your latest piece," Bryce said, joining me. "The one with the broken chains." My phone buzzed again. This time, I looked. Madison. "Lucas knows about the paintings. He's talking to his father's lawyers." Mother. "Your sister is distraught. What have you done?" Father. "This ends now. Come home immediately. They're trying to stop the show." I handed Bryce my phone. "Legal threats. Classic Lucas." "Can they?" "They can try." I traced my finger through years of dust on the window. "But they don't know about the photos yet." "Photos?" I pulled an envelope from my bag, spreading its contents across the floor. Images of Lucas at private meetings with Mother, documented dates and times. Bank statements showing transfers between accounts. A contract draft with Father's university, conveniently timed with the engagement announcement. "Jesus, Taylor!" Bryce knelt beside me. "Where did you get these?" "Lucas's father's secretary has a conscience, and a hefty bonus in her account now." I gathered the photos back up. Insurance, in case they try to shut us down. My phone lit up with an incoming call. Madison. "You should answer it," Bryce said softly. "She might surprise you." I pressed accept. "What?" I told him no. Madison's voice was steady, stronger than I'd heard in years. "Lucas, the wedding, all of it." I told him no. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. "What?" "You were right. About everything." She took a shaky breath. "Mother's furious. She says I'm throwing away everything she's worked for, but I can't do it anymore." Madison. "I need your help, Taylor. Please. I don't know how to be free." The sun was setting now, painting the lighthouse in shades of fire. Below, waves crashed against rocks with relentless determination. "Where are you?" I asked. "The beach house. The one where we used to hide as kids." A pause. "Mother doesn't know I'm here." I looked at Bryce, who was already grabbing his keys. "Stay there. We're coming." "Taylor?" Her voice cracked. "There's something else. Something in Father's study. About why they're so desperate to maintain these connections. The university, it's not what we thought." "What do you mean?" "Just hurry, please, before they—" The line went dead. "Madison?" Nothing. "Madison! We're 3 hours away," Bryce said, already heading for the stairs. "If we leave now—" "Wait!" I grabbed his arm. "What if it's a trap? What if Mother put her up to this?" "Does it matter? She's your sister." I thought of the journal, of years of manipulation and control, of Madison's tears in the coffee shop, of the strength in her voice just now. "No," I said finally. "It doesn't matter." We raced down the lighthouse steps, the photos secure in my bag. Behind us, the setting sun painted everything in shades of warning red. Whatever waited at the beach house, truth or trap, would change everything. My phone buzzed one final time. "Mother. You have no idea what you're about to destroy. Some secrets should stay buried." I switched off my phone and climbed into the van. The lighthouse disappeared in our rearview mirror as we sped toward whatever truth waited at the beach house, and whatever consequences came with it. The beach house loomed before us, dark against the star-filled sky. No lights inside, just the rhythmic crash of waves against the shore. Madison's car sat in the driveway, but something felt wrong. The air was too still, too quiet. "Stay here," I told Bryce, but he was already shaking his head. "Not a chance." The front door creaked open at my touch. Inside, moonlight filtered through dusty windows, casting long shadows across forgotten furniture. Everything exactly as we'd left it years ago, when this place was still our sanctuary. Madison? My whisper echoed through empty rooms. No response. Papers scattered across the kitchen table caught my eye. Documents from Father's study. Bank statements, letters, emails printed and highlighted. And there, in the center, a formal complaint filed against the university's research department. Taylor! Bryce's voice, urgent. Someone's coming. Headlights swept across the windows as a car pulled into the driveway. I grabbed the papers, shoving them into my bag alongside the photos. Madison? I called again, louder this time. In here. Her voice, finally, from the back bedroom. But something in her tone made my skin crawl. I pushed open the bedroom door. Madison sat on the edge of the bed, her face in shadow. Mother stood behind her, one hand on Madison's shoulder. Father emerged from the corner, and Lucas stepped out of the ensuite bathroom. Well, Mother said, isn't this cozy? What's going on? I stepped back, bumping into Bryce. Family meeting, Father said. Long overdue. The papers you just picked up, Lucas added, are confidential university documents. Removing them from campus is a serious offense. Madison wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Taylor. They were already here when I arrived. You set me up. The realization burned like acid. We're trying to help you, Mother said. This vendetta of yours, these paintings, they'll destroy everything we've built. Everything you've built on lies, you mean? I pulled out the photos. Like arranging Madison's marriage to cover up Father's research scandal? Madison's head snapped up. What? Oh, didn't they tell you? I tossed the photos onto the bed. Ask them about the falsified research data. Ask them why Lucas's firm really needs those university connections. Enough! Father stepped forward. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? The complaint shows everything. How long before the board finds out? Taylor, Mother's voice turned pleading. Think about what you're doing. This isn't just about us anymore. The scandal would affect Madison's future. Your future. Our futures? I laughed. You mean the futures you planned in that journal? The ones you manipulated us into? The journal was a mistake, she admitted. But everything we did was for you girls. No? I grabbed Bryce's hand. Everything you did was for yourselves. Lucas moved to block the doorway. The paintings can't go public. We're prepared to offer a generous settlement. Move! Bryce's voice was quiet but firm. Or what? Lucas smiled. You'll add assault charges to the theft? Taylor, Madison stood suddenly. Wait, please. She reached for the photos, scanning them quickly. Her face went pale. Is this true? All of it? Mother grabbed her arm. Madison, darling. Don't. Madison jerked away. Just don't. In that moment of confusion, Bryce shoved past Lucas. I followed, clutching my bag of evidence. Behind us, voices raised in argument. Taylor! Father's voice boomed. If you leave now, there's no coming back. I paused at the front door, turning to face my family one last time. Madison stood apart from them now, tears streaming down her face. Mother reached for her, but she stepped away. Good, I said, because I'm done playing your games. We ran to the van, engine roaring to life as Lucas emerged from the house. But he wasn't looking at us. He was staring at Madison, who walked calmly to her own car. As we pulled away, I saw Madison following in her rearview mirror. 2 sets of headlights cutting through the darkness, leaving the beach house and its secrets behind. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The university board meets tomorrow. Be ready. I looked at Bryce, then back at Madison's headlights behind us. The gallery opens in 2 weeks. He nodded, understanding. Time to show them who you really are. No, I said, thinking of Madison's tears, of Mother's schemes, of Father's lies. Time to show everyone who they really are. The university boardroom felt like a tomb, all polished mahogany and suffocating silence. I sat alone at the massive table, surrounded by empty chairs, waiting. My evidence spread before me like a hand of cards in a game I was suddenly unsure how to play. The door opened. Not the board members I'd expected, but father. Alone. Where is everyone? My voice sounded small in the cavernous room. There is no meeting. He closed the door softly. Not anymore. The papers beneath my hands trembled. What did you do? What you forced me to do. He stayed by the door, watching me with eyes I'd never seen before. Not angry, just tired. The board chairman received an interesting call this morning about a disturbed young woman making false accusations, about stolen documents and fabricated evidence. They're not false. You know they're not. The university's legal team has already issued cease and desist orders to every gallery in the city. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Your exhibition won't be opening. My phone buzzed. A text from Bryce. Galleries locked. Police tape everywhere. What's happening? You can't stop people from seeing the truth, I said, but my voice cracked. The truth. Father finally moved closer. You want truth, Taylor? Here's truth. Madison's missing. Your mother hasn't slept in days. The university's reputation, my life's work, hangs by a thread. And for what? Your artistic tantrum? Don't you dare. Even Bryce's mother called me. That stopped me cold. Diana's worried about him, about the legal consequences he might face as your accomplice. My phone buzzed again. Diana this time. We need to talk about Bryce's future. You got to her. The realization felt like drowning. You got to everyone. We're trying to save this family. He placed the envelope on the table. Including you. Inside was a contract. A position at a prestigious art school in Europe. Full scholarship, living expenses, everything I'd once dreamed of. All I had to do was sign a non-disclosure agreement and leave immediately. Your mother's idea, Father said softly. A fresh start, away from all this. My phone kept buzzing. Bryce again. Police asking questions about stolen documents. Diana says I should get a lawyer. And if I refuse? Then the police have questions about certain stolen documents, about defamation and harassment, about conspiracy to commit fraud. Father straightened his tie. Bryce seems like a nice young man. It would be a shame to see his career ruined before it begins. The walls seemed to close in. Everything I'd fought for, everyone I'd tried to protect, all of it slipping away. You have until tomorrow morning. Father headed for the door. For once in your life, Taylor, think about someone besides yourself. He left me there, surrounded by evidence that suddenly felt worthless. My phone kept buzzing, but I couldn't bear to look anymore. The drive home was a blur. Bryce waited on his mother's porch, looking lost. Diana thinks I should stay away from you for a while, he said before I could speak, until this legal stuff clears up. Bryce. Maybe she's right. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Maybe we moved too fast, got caught up in the rebellion of it all. That's not what this is. Isn't it? Finally, he looked at me. You're fighting ghosts, Taylor, and I'm not sure I can watch you destroy yourself doing it. I reached for him, but he stepped back. Behind him, Diana watched through the window, her usual warmth replaced by something that looked too much like my mother's disappointment. Back in my apartment, I found Madison's engagement ring on my kitchen counter. No note, no explanation. Just that perfect diamond catching the light, throwing accusations across my walls. My phone showed missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Galleries canceling, lawyers warning, friends distancing themselves. The last message was from Mother. We only wanted to protect you. From yourself. I stared at my reflection in the window, seeing for the first time what they all saw. Not a warrior for truth, but a destroyer of lives. My family's carefully constructed world lay in ruins, yes, but I stood in those ruins alone. The contract Father had given me sat unopened in my bag. Europe, escape, freedom maybe, but at what cost? My phone buzzed one final time. An unknown number. Some secrets are worth keeping. Some cages are built to protect. Choose wisely. Outside, the city lights blurred through tears I refused to acknowledge. I'd wanted revenge, wanted truth, wanted freedom. Now I had none of them. And tomorrow morning, I had a choice to make. The lighthouse stood sentinel against the dawn, just as it had the day everything changed. I pulled into the gravel lot, Father's contract burning a hole in my bag, and found Madison's car already waiting. She sat on the hood, wearing jeans and a sweater I'd never seen before, nothing like her usual perfect ensembles. Her engagement ring was conspicuously absent. "I knew you'd come here," she said. "How?" "Because it's where I came." She slid off the car. "3 days ago, when I left Lucas, when I finally understood what you've been trying to tell us all along." The lighthouse door creaked open behind me. Mother emerged, followed by Father. Of course, nothing in our family was ever truly private. "Girls," Mother started, but Madison cut her off. "I found the original research papers," she said. "The ones Father destroyed. I've had copies all along." Father went still. "Madison." I kept them as insurance," she continued, "in case you ever tried to force me into something I didn't want, like marrying Lucas." "Everything we did," Mother began, "was for us?" I laughed. "Like arranging Madison's marriage to cover up Father's fraud? Like planning our entire lives in that journal?" "You don't understand," Father said. "The university's reputation is built on lies," Madison finished. "Just like our family." Mother stepped forward, reaching for us both. "Please, let's discuss this at home, as a family." "We're done discussing." I pulled out my phone, showing them the screen. "The paintings are already online. Every gallery in the city might have refused to show them, but the internet is forever." Father's face darkened. "You've destroyed everything." "No," a new voice said. Bryce emerged from behind the lighthouse, camera in hand. "You did that yourself." "What is he doing here?" Mother demanded. "Documenting," Bryce said simply. "Every word, every confession, live streaming to the university board right now." Father lunged for the camera, but Madison stepped between us. "Stop! Just stop trying to control everything." "Madison," Mother pleaded, "think about your future." "I am." Madison moved to stand beside me. "For the first time in my life, I actually am." "The contract," Father said suddenly. "The art school offer. Take it, Taylor. Both of you. We can fix this." I pulled out the contract, holding it up. Pages of carefully worded silence, of freedom bought with lies. Madison nodded, understanding in her eyes. The paper tore easily, scraps catching in the morning breeze. "No more fixes," I said. "No more perfect plans." "You'll regret this," Father warned. "Both of you." "Maybe," Madison replied, "but at least it'll be our regret, our choice." Mother sank onto the lighthouse steps, her perfect composure finally cracking. "What will people say?" "The truth," I said. "For once." Bryce lowered his camera, moving to stand beside me. "It's done. The board has everything." Father's phone buzzed. Once, twice, a dozen times. The truth spreading like wildfire through the academic community. His hands shook as he read the messages. "What have you done?" he whispered. "Exactly what you taught us," Madison said, "to protect the family name, just not in the way you expected." Mother looked up, tears streaming down her face. "You're still our daughters." "Yes," I said softly, "but we're not your puppets anymore." The sun crested the horizon, painting the lighthouse in shades of gold. Behind us, waves crashed against the shore. The same waves that had witnessed our childhood escapes, our teenage secrets, our adult revelations. "Come on," Bryce said quietly. "Diana's waiting. She wants to talk to both of you." Madison squeezed my hand. Together, I looked at our parents. Mother broken on the steps, Father staring at his phone as his career crumbled. Part of me wanted to comfort them, to find some way to soften this blow. But sometimes freedom comes at a cost. Together, I agreed. We left them there, in the shadow of the lighthouse, where everything had started. In my rearview mirror, I watched them grow smaller, 2 figures against the dawn, their perfect world finally, irrevocably shattered. Madison's voice was barely a whisper. "Do you think we did the right thing?" I thought of the journal, of arranged marriages and planned lives, of cages built with love, but cages nonetheless. I think we did the true thing, I said. Finally. The lighthouse disappeared around the bend, and with it, the last traces of who we'd been forced to be. Ahead lay uncertainty, chaos, freedom. It felt like breathing for the first time. Diana's garden bloomed with wildflowers, untamed and perfect in their chaos. The wedding arch Bryce built stood among them, draped not with traditional white, but with strips of canvas bearing fragments of our story. Paintings that had once meant to expose, now transformed into celebration. Madison adjusted my dress, her hands steady. Mother's car just pulled up. And Father? Still in the driveway, he hasn't decided yet. Through the window, I watched Mother straighten her hat, clutching an envelope I recognized. Her journal, the one that started everything. She looked smaller somehow, less certain of her place in the world. You don't have to do this, Madison said. Yes, I do. I touched the canvas strips, each one a piece of truth we'd fought to tell. Some stories need endings. Mother found us in the garden, her perfect posture at odds with Diana's wild roses. Taylor, Thank you for coming. I took the journal from her trembling hands. I wasn't sure you would. Your father may not. She glanced at the driveway where his car idled. But I needed to give you this. She pressed another envelope into my hands. I found it while packing up your old room. Inside was a child's drawing, 2 stick figures with wild hair, holding hands against a backdrop of scribbled stars. On the back, in my childish writing, me and Madison being free. You were always trying to fly, Mother said softly. I thought I was giving you wings, but I was just building a prettier cage. Madison touched the drawing. I remember this. We hung it on the lighthouse wall. And now here we are, I said, finally free. The garden gate creaked. Father stood there, looking lost among the unplanned beauty of Diana's flowers. Our eyes met across the space between us, the space filled with broken expectations and painful truths. He took one step forward, then another. Bryce appeared at my side, his artist's hands steady on my shoulders. Everyone's ready. The ceremony wasn't what Mother would have planned. No string quartet, no perfectly coordinated colors. Instead, Diana played her old guitar, and Madison read a poem about butterflies breaking free of chrysalises. The witnesses were a mix of Bryce's artist friends and a few brave souls from our old life who'd chosen truth over appearance. When it came time for family blessings, Father stood. The garden held its breath. I spent my life, he said, voice rough, building things that looked perfect on paper. Careers, reputations, family, but paper burns. He looked at Mother, then at Madison, finally at me. Truth endures, and the truth is, I'm proud of you both, for being braver than I ever was. Mother dabbed her eyes with an immaculate handkerchief. Perhaps we could learn to build something new, something real this time. I looked at Madison, saw my own cautious hope reflected in her eyes. Maybe, I said. One day at a time? The reception spilled across Diana's garden, watercolor sunset painting everything in shades of possibility. I found Madison by the canvas strips, tracing the painted images of our shared past. Lucas called, she said. The university board cleared his firm of involvement. He wanted to know if... And? She smiled. Really smiled. The kind that reached her eyes. I told him I'm applying to art school. Diana's been teaching me pottery. Across the garden, Mother watched us, her perfect mask softened by something that looked like understanding. Father stood beside her, hand tentatively finding hers. They looked smaller, more human, more real. Bryce wrapped his arms around me from behind. Ready to go? I touched the canvas nearest us, the lighthouse painting, but altered now. The two faces weren't breaking apart anymore, but merging, finding strength in their differences. Almost, I said. I took Mother's journal to the garden's fire pit, where Diana kept a small blaze going. Madison joined me, then mother, then father. One by one, we tore out pages, not in anger now, but in release. Each page burned away, taking with it the weight of expectations, the burden of perfection. The final page caught the wind, dancing away from the flames. I caught it, recognizing my mother's handwriting. My dearest daughters. But the rest was blank. Unwritten. Keep it, Mother said softly. Some stories need new endings. I folded the page carefully, tucking it away. Not as a reminder of what was, but as a promise of what could be. When truth replaces perfection. When love outweighs control. When freedom means writing your own story. The wildflowers swayed in the evening breeze, untamed and beautiful, just like the life ahead.